a lot of analysts have stated that, their concern for WPP is the fact that, if and when you decide to retire.
Or somebody decides for me, yes. Which is more likely to happen.
Do you have a succession plan?
If you go back for the last 8, 9, 10 years, I think, actually, there's a section in there which talks about succession planning, lays it out quite clearly, that in event of me, various scenarios, maybe being hit by a red bus, or somebody taking me out to the woodshed and saying, Martin, we've had enough of you, or even an interviewer saying, we've had enough of you in an interview, there's a succession plan. So the answer to your question is, if it was the question, is there is a succession plan?
That was not my question. I'm sure there is a succession plan. I'm saying the concern they might have is there is no person who has your vision or your ability to, lead an empire as large as this.
I'm sure, well, that's not, the company is only in the context, it's a $22 billion company. It has revenues of $17 billion and EBITDA of about $3 billion. There are many companies that are much bigger that are run by people who are even more successful, and certainly people who are more accomplished. So I think that's sort of a non-question. I mean, there are plenty of people inside the business who could run the business. There are plenty of people outside WPP who could run WPP. So that's just like any company, the options are internal or external. So I don't see any difference. Now, would the person who does it run it in the same way? Probably, thank goodness not. And they'll probably do it much better. Can somebody, go from 2 people to 165,000 people in 110 countries? The answer is no, because by definition we've done that. We've got the T-shirt for doing that, at least yet. So somebody's going to have to do it differently. But your question is not just a question for WPP; it's a question for all companies. And I'm not quite sure of where the question goes. I mean, if there wasn't, that would mean no companies would be founded and developed, because there are people that found companies, there are people that manage companies. We've tried to do both. We started 28 years ago. We had 2 people in one room. What I was really interested in was not just starting a company, but in building a company to a substantial level. I've always been interested in complexity. Maybe it was the vagaries of being at business school for a couple of years when I was at relatively tender age, but I liked the idea of trying to run a big company, and I emphasize trying. I wanted to start it and run it, because there are many people who can start things but can't run things, and many people who can run things who can't start things. So maybe the answer to the question is, you find somebody who's used to running things, and they'll run it even better than I can do.
I want to talk about your latest announcement in Muzi. Clearly WPP Ventures.
Yes, go on. So clearly what?
Clearly WPP Ventures is,
I mean, it's early stage investment in digital.
Right. If you can take me through, what WPP Ventures is looking at broadly in the foreseeable future.
Well, you've got different approaches. So we say, we have a sort of 3-pronged approach to our approach to digital, which is now well over a third of our business. The first is to focus on our established businesses. So if you went through historically, that'd be JWT, Ogilvy, Y&R, and Gray, for example, in advertising, and say, you're not as digital as you should be more so. And this is a process that started, say, 10 years ago, and they're now accomplished digital companies as well as being classic agencies. Then the second thing is to say to our 4 digital leaders, our 4 Forrester digital leaders out of the 7 that there are, which are Wunderman, Ogilvy One, ZML, and AKQA, you're very strong global businesses running from $150, $300 million revenue to $1 billion of revenue in each case. They're very accomplished businesses digitally, become even more accomplished. AKQA joins us. I think they've opened up in 4 new countries since they've been part of the group last year. And then the third thing is you find through WPP Digital and now WPP Ventures, you make investments, or you might actually build a network like Possible Worldwide, or acquire Rockfish, which is based in Bentonville, or a Blue State Digital, which did both of Obama's electoral campaigns, social campaigns. You experiment, you learn, you get knowledge, and you pump that knowledge in and training into the people around the world. WPP Ventures is different because WPP Digital has been more mid-stage and late stage, whereas clearly WPP Ventures is capitalizing on Tom Dedicari's expertise and knowledge, and he's based in Silicon Valley. He's the chairman of AKQA, and so he comes across a lot of things that would be of interest to us and help us get a better digital understanding. And if you said to me, what's happening at Cannes, to some extent what you see at Cannes is confusion. People concerned about what's happening and how do they interpret what's happening. I mean, a lot of people have said to me, they're walking down the Croisette and they get bombarded by these new media companies, and they're confused by the extent to which and of the change, and how do they optimize their spending the right level, and where do they spend it. And obviously what we're doing in that third phase with WPPT Digital and WPP Ventures is try and understand a bit more what's going on.
What about Middle East? I believe that your next big focus is on the Middle East, because you've
I wouldn't say the next big focus is on me. I mean, Roy Haddad has become, must be about 6-9 months ago. We've made him the head of WPP in the Middle East, North Africa, and it's an area which, if I look at Africa, we have a $500 million business in South Africa. We have about another, I think it's $350 million in other parts of Africa. That would be Sub-Sahara. East Africa, we're extremely strong. West Africa, we're developing our business even more strongly. And then North Africa. We have to watch that very carefully. I mean, the Middle East, specifically, Africa's been very strong. The Middle East has been more difficult, it's been more variable, although we have seen this switch, from historically, from a long time back, from Beirut into Dubai and now into Saudi. Riyadh is now a very strong center for our business, not only in Saudi Arabia, but in the Middle East. But our Middle Eastern business is good, but it has been subject to the vagaries of the Arab winter and now the Arab spring, or the Arab spring and now the Arab winter.